Hello and welcome to the Role Models podcast, filmed at Authentic Collectables HQ in Perth, Western Australia. We're back. The new racing season is almost upon us, and the second season of Role Models is here. How exciting. I'm joined, as usual, by Authentic Collectables head honcho, William Hall. William, there's someone drag racing at the front of your office
like it, does
right
it?
now. That's
right in the spirit of things,
probably
isn't it?
didn't get picked up by the mic, but that was quite interesting. Anyway, how are you?
Yeah, good. Good.
Are you good? You've been a bit under the weather, I believe.
No, this last week hasn't been super flash. This probably should have been recorded a little while ago, but anyway.
Sounds like you're taking your sort of weight-saving measures to get back in the race car a bit too seriously.
I have lost probably about 4 kilos in the
go.
last couple of days, so I don't recommend it as a weight loss program, but I'll take it.
There's a tenth or two.
Yeah, that's right. That's
here
right.
we go. You might have to pass on whatever you got over to me. Thanks.
No, you definitely don't want it.
That's absolutely fair enough. Look, thanks to everyone who followed along with the show last year. We were blown away by the reception that it got. It bumped into lots of collectors out and about when I was cruising around racetracks and that sort of stuff. So it's obviously a very passionate industry, and it's been really cool to connect with a lot of you guys out there. So obviously we won't have a code word winner for this episode because it's our first one, but the code word competition is back, so keep an eye out on that. If you're listening as an audio podcast and you want to get involved, you have to go and check out the YouTube version, look for the code word, leave a comment regarding or using the code word in some way for your chance to win a $250 gift card from Authentic Collectables.
And be creative, as always. Be as creative as you can. We like it. The more creative you are, the more chance you got of taking away the chocolates.
That is absolutely the case. Then another little competition we'll run this season as well is in our questions. I think we'll pick a question each that gets $100. Our favourite question. We'll pick a favourite question each. They'll get a $100 gift voucher as well, gift card as well. So plenty going on for second season of Role Models. All right, let's move on to the new releases from Authentic Collectables. William, what have you got for us?
So it's been a while since we've done one of these. Mm-hmm. So there's been plenty going on in the background while you've been swanning around the world and doing all sorts of things.
Gallivanting, I believe, is the verb most used.
There was definitely one junket I know about. So as I say, there's been plenty released on our website. Don't forget to visit our website, authenticcollectables.com.au, and visit the in stock section, and all our latest releases will feature there, assuming we still have stock. So the first thing we released was the last of our P76s.
Yep.
So only 3 colours of the P76 in the Targa Florio were ever made. So this was the third one in the nutmeg metallic. So we released that one.
Yep.
Then sort of after all of the comings and goings with Tickford over the last sort of 12 months or so, we were pleased to finally get 2 of the Tickford cars we've had sitting in the bank for a little while, out and about. So that was the Thomas Randall car from New Zealand in 2022.
Yep.
So the thank you Pukekohe.
Yeah, quite a significant livery in the fact that it was the last Pukekohe. Fantastic race meeting, that one.
It was. I loved Pukekohe. It was really, really good. And something a little sort of left to centre a little bit was the Courtney Flex car from the AGP, which was his 500th round, if I'm not mistaken. Sort of something a little bit historic there for James.
Yep.
That was the year he ran a few liveries until Snowy came on board.
Yes, correct. Yep.
And sort of hasn't left. So something a little bit different there from the Tickford side of things. Then for the Holden fans and back into road car land, we had our HK Brahm in Inca Gold. So the first one of those we've released. And really well received. Sealed body resin, fantastic little model. That one.
Bit of good news for the Holden fans at the moment. It's probably quite welcome.
They need a little bit, don't they? And then back into Gen 3 world, something a little bit more current is the 2023 Darwin Triple Crown liveries. Yep. So a few from Team 18, one from MSR, and the Coke cars as well from Erebus. So so we had those roll through.
Wasn't the greatest amount of effort went into the Erebus Indigenous livery from memory that
Well, no,
year.
they
I
were
think
they were the Coke Zero cars. So
Yeah.
every year they always change it from just
Yeah.
the Coke livery to Coke Zero. So there's a little bit.
All right,
There's a little bit in it. And then last but not least is the Hino car from the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Where they changed it to the Samurai livery.
Brilliant looking car.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Although
Really
probably
smart
best
looking
known
race car.
for coming across, was it James Golding? Was it that? Wasn't that year where
I
he
think
came
it was
across?
that year, wasn't it?
Yeah, came across James
At
Golding at the
back
first
chicane.
First chicane.
Oh,
I
first
think it
chicane,
was,
that's right, that's
facing
right.
the wrong way, and
Yes.
there was a bit of an exchange of words
Yes.
publicly after between those two.
Yes. I was thinking the big calamity in the back chicane, but that was the year before that, wasn't it? I forgot one as well.
Oh, okay.
I forgot one.
Yep.
It was the 10th anniversary Erebus livery
Oh, yep.
that Tristan Groves here in our office did to celebrate 10 years of Erebus.
Yep.
So Betty signed the certificates for those for us.
That's great.
So we had that one come through the system as well. So yeah, bit to get through.
I think we'll
One
talk,
there I
we'll talk
almost
about
forgot.
some of Tristan's design work.
We may get to that in our next segment.
All right, let's do it. Well, let's crack into a bit of the motorsport news that's kicking about, and there has been plenty. Forgetting about the fact we haven't actually done one of these since whenever it was towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
But even in saying that, it's been a pretty newsworthy start to the year.
Considering that, like, yeah, you have all your usual kind of livery things and maybe the odd driver change, but it feels like there's just been a lot more newsworthy chat this year than ever before.
There's just a lot. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Probably more than we expected. And the big game-changing announcement, obviously, was that 888 will switch to Ford for the 2026 season.
News to me. No.
Well, look, it was at the time. It was news to a lot of people when it
certainly was.
when it actually happened. So. Look, it's been covered a fair bit. It's a couple of weeks. We're a couple of weeks into this new world of knowing that this is happening now, so we probably don't need to go over it forever and ever, but hugely significant announcement. Obviously, it sort of has all these knock-on effects through the sport. It affects Dick Johnson Racing, who will lose the homologation team role with Ford. It really affects GM and leaves a lot of question marks about what they do in the future. Are they going to be there in the future?
Yeah, and I guess that's all of the, as you say, we're a couple of weeks on from the actual kind of shock of the announcement.
Yeah.
But it's all these knock-on questions of, as you say, what GM does, what DJR, how it affects DJR, but then how it affects Team 18, Premier, like all of these knock-ons.
Yeah, how does it change the picture in terms of who might have been looking to go to Toyota?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things, and a lot of these questions are unanswered questions, and not unanswered because we don't know the answer, but because there may well not be an answer.
Yeah.
Like GM may well not actually have a full picture on what it's going to do in the future. I just hope it does something. I've said this in other places. I'd like to see them get on the front foot as soon as possible and outline, hey, this is what we're going to do. Explicitly say we're either looking for a new homologation partner or name one.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they are chasing Groves, as some suspect they are, then that won't be so easy. But I just hope that that's what they are doing, or they're doing something like that we can shore up their future.
And I think they, you would like to hope that definitely they're going to stay in the sport.
Yeah.
It's just, as you say, it's kind of the where. Ford have been very clear that they kind of want to keep their level of commitment and teams at where it is.
Yeah.
With obviously, Walkinshaw out, T8 in, that fixes that.
Mm-hmm.
But if Groves were to move, does that then mean that there's a GM team out there that falls into the Ford?
It's not totally
realm,
impossible that Blanchard's could go with Walkinshaw's to Toyota as well.
Yep.
It's something that has been spoken about. I still think Team 18 is the absolute favourite to become the second Toyota team, but that's not out of the question as well. So, yeah, there's certainly probably the slightly concerning thing is that it does really feel like 888 went to GM looking for that commitment, looking for what their 5-year plan in supercars was, and didn't get the answers that they wanted, or didn't get the clarity on that they wanted.
Or it's just that they didn't like the answer and Fords were better.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
it could be that.
I think the financial offer was obviously going to be better. Ford is the more actively engaged manufacturer when it comes to the spend that they make in the sport. But
and the number of cars they sell in the country.
Yeah,
So
correct.
There's got to be a correlation between the two.
But yeah, look, it'd be nice. You know, there's been a bunch of renders of NASCAR, like if GM goes down this Cadillac path with the NASCAR and that sort of stuff, and every little bit of it gives you a bit of hope that there is something in the works that could come along. And, you know, I think supercars would do their best to try and at least obtain the IP they need to keep the GM product in the field, just to try and retain and protect that fan base. It'd be a shame to just completely lose that. We've seen it before. I mean, up until 2018, Ford weren't
You're correct.
weren't a supercars manufacturer. There were Falcons in the field.
Yeah. And Ford have done that over the course of decades, where they've kind of been in and out in some way, shape or form.
I mean, the reason 888 became a Holden team was because Ford left them out in the cold.
They weren't running Fords, they were running Hogs.
Yeah, that's right. So this sort of stuff does happen, but the sport is still better off if you have, even at a low level of engagement, if we have, you know, a factory involvement from a GM.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a sign of good health. It certainly makes the Toyota deal, it adds so much importance to that because, and this is what supercars are talking about, it's insurance.
Yeah.
It just gives you that little bit of insurance, and it actually just removes a little bit of the power from the existing manufacturers if you've got this third manufacturer.
Both Ford and GM.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
The thing we always said, because Camaro had a limited shelf life anyway when it appeared on the scene, you know, Mustang's obviously a Mustang. There's always going to be Mustangs, at least for the foreseeable future. But Camaro, there was always the question mark, and then they eventually did kill it.
Yeah.
So there was always the view that, well, they're always going to need something for NASCAR.
Yeah, yeah.
GM are always going to need something for NASCAR. So that's
there will be
that's
something.
Always been in the background.
Yeah. And history's almost repeating itself with this Toyota thing with the Supra, basically.
Yeah,
almost
correct.
out the door. So what there's been the last couple of days a lot of chat about the GR Celica. If they bring out a GR Celica, then that is whatever it costs. There will be a hole that size in my bank account almost immediately. That'll get me straight away.
There's that Speedcafe money we keep talking about.
It'll all be gone. Anyway, so yeah, that was obviously a fairly big story. I certainly didn't. When I got on the plane to go to the States, I didn't anticipate that I'd be interviewing Jamie Whincup when I got there. That was.
I did think it was curious that you were getting a junket, as I said, to the US on Ford's dime. It's not that.
Something
in the background.
It's not that curious. When the NDAs came out, I sort of figured something.
There was something big,
something slightly bigger than what I may have anticipated. That was going on.
They weren't going to run Mustangs anymore. We were all going to drive Raptors.
Yeah, it was
not quite
that. Anyway, interesting scenario. Let's have a chat about. Let's keep talking about 888 and their drivers over in New Zealand. Will Brown winning the New Zealand Grand Prix. Pretty cool.
Staggering.
Yeah.
Like just amazing, fantastic.
Like doing a part-time F Rock or whatever it's called these days program up against some of the hottest young open-wheel drivers in the world.
Yeah, correct.
Arvid Lindblad is basically next in line at Red Bull. Like his F1 chance is coming much sooner than later.
Well, much sooner than Will's.
He was,
but maybe not now.
he was there to collect super license points.
Yep.
And now has a super license because of the fact he won the championship and did a fantastic job, as dominant a performance as we have seen in that category. But Will goes out and wins the Grand Prix. Like, absolutely staggering. Like, to put your reputation on the line like that. He does have a good, strong open wheel background, but geez, it's been a while.
Well, and the last supercars driver to go and do that,
Shane Van Gisbergen,
is currently in the Cup Series.
Yeah, and that was a weird year where that was the COVID year where they didn't have the imports and all that sort of stuff. So yeah,
Shane's also 7'4" compared to
compared
to Will in a little open wheel.
Extinguisher off in the pit lane and had to start from the back of the field and still won the race. So it was still very remarkable. But I just think for Will to sort of to have that self belief to go and just do it in the first place, and then to win it man.
Well, and
Drive
Feeney,
and drive.
Feeney didn't disgrace himself,
Not at all.
considering that he's really not done that much in the way of open wheeler stuff.
He has done one race meeting, and
There
it
you
was
go.
at
And in New Zealand.
it was at Highlands Motorsport Park. That's all he's ever done.
That's
You know,
not a bad effort either, really.
He was straight out of karts into, I think, XLs and Toyotas and supercars. So, still to drag that pole lap out of it, pretty impressive. That inexperience kind of showed during the race. He was locking a lot of brakes and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Got to use the fact that you don't necessarily just stand on the thing with all your might.
Yeah.
Like you do
There's
in a
a bit of
supercar
finesse.
where you're trying to give it everything every time you come to a braking zone. It's pretty easy to grab a wheel in an open wheeler. But did a remarkable job.
Yeah.
So it does show again how good these supercars guys are.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like the caliber
Yeah.
of our blokes.
Because it seems like a
pretty
step
good.
backwards. And if you look at career progression, it can be. But you are talking about guys that are in that open wheel zone.
Yeah.
You know, like Formula Regional was very competitive.
That as you said, that series is used for guys to come here in like the old Tasman series.
Yeah.
Come over in summer, our summer, their winter, to get more miles, to keep their career going.
Well, there's been talk about like Colton Herter having to do it if Andretti tried to put him in an F1 car.
Yeah.
Like that's
how important that series is.
That's what can happen in this category. So it's that was cool. I thought that was that was really cool, and it was a dominant performance. New DJR livery, finally.
Yes.
Finally, we
got
have
one.
a new DJR livery. It's happened.
We got one over the line. So it's been something that...
And it was designed right here.
Yep. Just
in this office.
Just over there. And he's sitting there with his headphones on. He's not even listening to us.
No.
He'll watch it later.
Yeah. I don't think he will.
No, probably not. It's something we've been, we've been at the team for quite some time that we thought it needed to happen.
Time for a freshen up.
And they've let us sneak the odd livery through.
Yeah.
The odd retro livery we've got over the line. But it's good to give the thing a bit of a freshen up.
Yeah.
Still working within the confines of the sort of the style guide, etc. that the sponsors bring to the table, which I think sometimes our fans kind of gloss over a little bit, that there is still a style guide that kind of all these teams have to follow. It's not, you don't have carte blanche on just changing the thing up completely.
You're trying to, it is a broth that has many cooks putting input into
so many.
Difficult. It's actually really difficult.
Which is probably why Tristan's got his headphones on and not listening to this, because I think he's pretty sick of talking about it and looking at them.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted a yellow car like the wild card, but everyone kind of needs to remember that yellow's actually the Helix color. It's not the V-Power color. Red is the V-Power color. That's kind of why it goes down that path.
Yeah.
So there's all these things that just limit what is possible. And
BJR is provided for the yellow race car fans.
Well,
anyway, with that Pizza Hut
yeah.
car.
All of a sudden, we've got a Shell Pizza Hut car.
That's right.
Which looks really good, because yellow race cars do look good.
Yeah. So that's there's no need for the yellow car. The yellow car is out there.
No.
So,
No. And it's funny how lots of liveries end up, like, no one talks amongst themselves about what everyone's cars should look like.
Yeah.
But white's clearly the in thing this year too, because everyone seems to have got a bit more white on their cars this year.
It certainly has been. Yeah. It's kind of nice to see that Pizza Hut car move away from that.
Yeah.
So that it's not another
Well,
white
and again, because that's
red car.
That's what I was worried about.
Cars that kind of ended up looking pretty similar. We don't know what they're going to look like this year.
No.
But
T8's kind of got a bit more white.
Yeah.
Shell cars have got a bit more white. Had the Pizza Hut car been a bit more white, like there was going to be a lot of white race cars.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Anyway, I'm glad we have a new DJR car. I'm looking forward to seeing it in the flesh. I'd say I was lucky to see the art, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I saw the photos, and I was like, oh, hang on a minute, this looks real good. And from people who were at the launch, it looks even better when you really actually see it. So So that's going to be exciting. What else do you want to talk about? What else is on your
Did you watch the that new F1 trailer?
I have absorbed it through various means. I haven't actually sat down.
You haven't actually watched it yet. You haven't spent 2 minutes of your life and watched it yet.
No, I don't always have 2 minutes.
Have you seen Driven?
Well, look, this was a discussion point on full credit to the noise as well, and
I'm worried.
And former legend is a little concerned that we're heading down the
I'm a
criminal
bit
path
worried
as well.
I mean, Top Gun is a really good movie if you take out the script and you just sit there and watch the pictures. And I have a feeling this could be the same.
I think
the pictures are going to be really, really good.
But if you were a fighter pilot, you'd think Top Gun was an
crap.
absolute piece of junk.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
we're
the
too close.
That's the reality.
We're too close.
That's
we're too close.
It's just, as I did say on the other pod, people don't like Drive to Survive because it's too fake.
Yeah.
And it's
yet
a documentary.
Yeah.
Yes, it is absolutely
fake.
Sexy. No question about it. But like, when you know the sport and you know that these little meetings are all orchestrated and as it's been put to me by people work in the paddock, we work in a Netflix simulation now. But if that's too fake for you, then a movie is going to look way too fake. It's going to be that's going to be hard to swallow, and we're just so incredibly close to the sport.
Yeah.
The problem is if you make a movie about how things really work, it'd be super boring.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's quite boring.
You just watch the race,
because
that's what. That's the reality of it.
So you have to make things, and that's the thing. When you watch one of these sort of, I don't know how you describe it. It's not biopic, is it? That's when it's like someone's life or whatever. But even all those things are completely. They have to be over the top because that's what movies are.
And I think the fact that, and I think you said this in full credit as well, the fact that at least elements of it have been recorded in a more realistic setting.
Yeah, it's an authentic setting.
From that point of view. Yeah. Like, that'll be great because that's never happened.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Did you watch the Senna Netflix
No,
series?
I haven't yet.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Okay. Well, I'm on a plane tomorrow. Maybe I should download it.
It's worth watching. I don't have any super strong feelings on whether it's great or not or whatever. I found it entertaining.
That's all they're meant to be.
Yep.
That's all they're meant to be.
Very South American looking mountains in the background of Snetterton. I've been to Snetterton.
No mountains in the background.
Snow-capped mountains in the background, but watch it. Watch it. We can chat about it next time.
Okay.
Might be worth a chat.
All right. That's on the list for next week. Now, have we got radios in our Formula Fords this year?
There is talk we're going to have one-way radio, so people can swear at us. We won't be able to swear back.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is a bit of a shame.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
What do you think about all this F1 swearing?
It's complete nonsense.
It's
complete nonsense.
I
don't know why.
I don't know the FIA on about.
I don't know where this obsession to get in their own way comes from, but that's 100% what it is. Like,
it's ridiculous.
F1's like, you have this product that is just so incredibly popular, and you're trying to stifle all the life out of it.
Well, it's not about me, is what I feel like it is.
Yeah.
On the FIA's part, like
it's bizarre. I don't understand it at all. Just let people swear. You can still draw the line. It's exactly the same issue that we now have in Australian motorsport with the whole any physical contact will land you with a reprimand.
Yep.
There is a difference between touching someone and physically assaulting
punching
someone.
their lights.
There is, and anyone who can't tell that difference and goes and belts someone at the go-kart track the next Saturday morning was probably going to do that anyway.
Correct.
Because there is no bow to be drawn in that situation.
No.
So, and this is exactly the same. You're trying to deflect something and turn into something it's not because you're uncomfortable with it for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't. I mean, we're Australian. We're very comfortable with swearing.
That's right.
And I was actually having this conversation with some journos in the States talking about this exact topic. And I did say we're comfortable with swearing. They were like, yeah, you guys definitely are. You use some words that we definitely don't use in a fairly casual setting. But
that was the 5 swear words you dropped in the opening paragraph as you were discussing it to them.
Yeah, but still, it's nonsense that we're even having this discussion.
Yeah.
Like we've just talked about how you need to embrace the drama of the sport to make it a TV entertainment sport, and the FIA just seems hell bent on beating that life out of it.
Yeah,
it's just really sad and weird.
Yeah, odd.
Anyway, let's move on. Alrighty, let's get back to talking about smaller versions of racing cars.
Yes.
What have you announced you want to tell us about, William?
Well, it's been a relatively quiet period since our as opposed to what we've released. We haven't announced that much.
Not you been on holidays?
Pretty much, yeah. Christmas just
or hanging out at the speedway.
Yeah. Christmas is never a great time to announce anything anyway. So we've only recently put out our first order form for the year, and it's kind of cleaning up a little bit of last year in terms of supercar land. So it's our Indigenous liveries from last year. So 2 Shell cars, a Snowy River car, and a WAU Optus car. So available in 1/18th and 1/43rd. You can head to your nearest stockist and place your order with them, or alternatively, you can visit our website, click on whichever product you're interested in, and then click on that register your interest button to give us your email address. And as soon as they land in the country, we will let you know.
What's your favourite of those cars up there? Well, we can see them in the background. What catches your eye?
I liked the Shell cars just again because of the point of difference between
a regular
Shell car and that going with the red doors. I thought was really, really smart. Kind of had that retro Sierra vibe about it. But that Snowy River car,
it looks cool, doesn't it?
It really stood out. Now, whether the branding stood out,
no,
I don't know.
Just thinking, you can't really read the Snowy River. I mean, the Optus on the WAU car really stands out.
Yeah, but that orange Snowy River car, maybe it's just because we don't often see kind of orange.
Just trying to think of what orange cars that we get, and we don't. I mean, we get truck assist orange.
Yeah, but it's not. It's black. The whole car's not orange.
Black and orange car. You know. Yeah, you're right. It's not an overly common sort of.
Not as kind of the base colour.
No.
So no, and again, maybe because it's just so different from the season car.
Yeah.
But no, that Snowy River car, that's my pick. What about you?
I have to agree. If I look at that, that's the one that the eye is drawn to. I think the integration on the WAU car is quite nice.
Yeah.
In terms of like the branding is very strong. It's still clearly what it is, but with that Indigenous touch.
Well, and interestingly, that was the turning point from the white to the black.
Yes.
Too. So that was kind of the catalyst to then go because of the way the season kind of unfolded. I don't know whether that livery was originally started white and then migrated.
But then we had the Sydney special.
Yeah. So it went Darwin, Townsville, Sydney, and Sydney was always going to be that gold celebration for mobile. So I'm not sure if everything took hints from that, and so that's where the black kind of started its journey. But
true, it was a good.
But it still looked good.
It was a solid move. Alrighty, let's crack on with some questions.
Oh, first one's for you.
Yep.
Question for AVL. Razadox.
Hell of a name.
Yeah. Is the time right to reopen the conversation about alternative engine types for supercars, like a V6 twin turbo option, and would that open a door for other manufacturers to enter the series?
No, I think we've moved past that. I think the more important discussion would be whether we put V8 back at the front of the name, to be honest, which was probably a misstep from the category at the time. Yeah. It was based around the fact this twin turbo Holden motor, or Chev motor was GM motor, whatever it was coming into the category, which obviously never actually happened. But the V8's just such an important part of the category. It's the last sort of remaining, as we've gone away from the touring car model to this, these coupes and all that stuff. The V8's just such an important part, and you can't beat the sound of it.
No, I didn't mind the sound of the Sandman when it was at Bathurst, but it certainly wasn't a V8.
You can't beat it. You can't beat the way those motors sound. And even when I was in the States, we did a ride in the T1 Plus Raptor Dakar car, and that's the Coyote V8 into a single exhaust, and it sounds insane.
Yeah,
so much better than all the other Dakar cars. It's just
sounds right.
It sounds great. That's how racing cars should sound. So I think we need to stick with the V8 formula. Most manufacturers, a lot of their petrol stuff is based on V8 motors now anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's not a sort of full hybrid thing or whatever, so you've still, it's got to be V8s.
And it'll be interesting to see in the next few years if manufacturers walk back a little bit from the electric side anyway and the hybrid side. And certainly
for sure.
The market's going to change again, I think,
Yeah.
from a road car land perspective.
Yeah.
And that'll always knock on.
Particularly in this age of, like, if you look at how hard it's been to find parity between a quad cam V8 and a pushrod V8. Imagine if we suddenly had this. And these are all the things that it would have been okay back then.
Yeah.
Because the parity was actually so terrible.
Yeah.
But the teams were all so different that it was all jumbled up enough that it kind of looked even. But in the Gen 3 era, if you made that big a change between a V8 motor and something else, boy, oh boy.
Well, what I was about to say is you could potentially do it now because of the learnings that we've had in trying to get these two V8s to parity.
Yeah.
That there might be a better set of tools
but we're
now.
arguing over the impact of the elevation of Bathurst.
Yeah.
The fact that the town's so far above sea level that it makes, again, the quad cam react differently to the push rod motor.
Yeah.
Imagine if we imagine if we chucked some turbos in there. Like that's always a thing at Bathurst, or it's a hot day or it's a cold. Oh man, it's a hornet's nest. We just do not need to be throwing rocks at.
Hot day, cold day with the altitude.
Yeah, No, thank you. All right, question for Will. Nick McRae. Oh,
that is a solid name. I like that.
Good motorsporting name, that one. Do manufacturers have to okay a model before it's put into production, as in making sure their product is presented faithfully? That's a good question. Obviously, there's licensing issues, but is there quality control processes?
Not so much QC. That's up to us, but definitely from are we producing the model faithfully?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So depending on the era that we're talking about, we if it's a current-ish car, we will have got the data from the manufacturer anyway.
Yep.
In which case, it's a fairly easy replication, and assuming we haven't completely stuffed it up, then there won't be any dramas anyway. And I guess the one thing that I've always argued to teams, manufacturers, anyone, is it's my business that's kind of on the line anyway if we get it wrong.
The collectors surely are the greatest collective police force when it comes to accuracy that possibly could exist.
Teams that turn around and say that we need to provide them with absolutely everything we ever do before the product gets to market, I sort of turn around and go, look, if I'm making a Camaro and I put a dirty big Ford logo on it, it's not the teams that are going to have the problem.
No.
It's me that's going to have the problem because you guys are going to hold me to account.
Yeah, that's right.
And tell me that I'm crap and that my business is crap and then not buy my product ever again. Yeah. So from that point of view,
it's a self-fulfilling kind of deal.
Yeah. So to that end, manufacturers and teams tend to let us kind of do what we do and pretty much let us get away with whatever we want to get away with. Because again, if we get it wrong, it's us that looks bad. It doesn't reflect badly on them. But I still have to provide photos and occasionally a model to tick off the licensing front, which that's part of it.
Yep, beauty.
All right, another question for AVL. Luke Henry. Hi AVL. Who is going to be the best Chevrolet team in 2025 besides the 888 defectors?
That's a very good question.
And are they in line for the GM homologation team status?
That is a very good question. It's very hard to tell. There's all these sort of question marks. I mean, probably a safe bet is, I think that when you got someone like Nick Percat at MSR, he should win a race or two as the season goes on. Interesting to see what BJR does in terms of turning around that a tough season. But again, when you got someone as good as Andre Heimgartner in one of your cars on the right day, we even saw it last year. On the right day, you can win a race.
Win a race, yep.
And then you've got these huge question marks around, for example, Erebus. And let's not forget that Erebus turned out, Brody's Bathurst car and his Gold Coast car were exceptionally fast race cars.
Correct.
Exceptionally fast race cars. Now, there's question marks over the engineering lineup. There is Brody's not there to drive the thing, but you got someone like Jack LeBrock who has won 2 races.
Yep.
When he's found himself in a position to do it, he's executed on it and won. We don't know much about Cooper Murray. Like, who knows? Got no idea. But the team is capable.
That wild card outing at Darwin, he did
he
a
had
very
a fast
good job.
car and he made fairly good use of it. So, if they turn out some fast race cars, who knows what could happen at that team. And then we've got someone like Premier that there's sort of all this potential there.
Yep.
And when do they start to realise that?
Yep.
And what does Richie do?
Yep.
Because we still don't know.
Yep.
We know Richie's best is exceptional.
Yep.
And we know that hasn't necessarily been capable of being at his best consistently. But what if it all clicks?
Yep. Yep.
Not going to go and bet my house on that because there's been too many false starts. But what if it actually all clicks?
Yep.
Like, who knows?
And then Andre at Charlie's. Anton, sorry, at Charlie's. Put that down to being not feeling very well.
Yeah, no, exactly. Then you've got this like quite exceptional driver lineup at Charlie's as well.
Yeah.
So there's all these kind of there's all these flashpoints of potential there.
Yeah.
It's just who's actually going to go and put it together. But what it does highlight is that like losing Triple 80 is a big loss for that.
Well,
brand.
I was going to say it always comes back to just how bloody consistent AAA are.
Yeah,
because everyone you've just said pretty much either has won a race in the Gen 3 era or come bloody close. No, every team's won.
Premier hasn't.
Oh, Premier hasn't.
Yeah,
but they got that podium last year.
Yeah.
So everyone's come really, really close.
Yeah.
But AAA aren't close because they're just there. And they're always there.
Because when you actually look at your nailed on like race winners for 2025, you got your AAA drivers, and then you've got Cam Waters.
Yep.
And Chaz Mostert.
Yep.
And Brody
not
Garcia.
not GM.
No, all these, there's Matt Payne.
Yep.
All guys driving Fords.
Yep.
There's just been AAA that's so good. So it does. It's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
To take on it. So anyway, all right. Question for you, William. Ken McKell. With AAA going to Ford, is there any chance Authentic Collectables will be doing the Red Bull cars from next year? That is a very good question, William.
Probably asking the wrong person. We probably need to be asking AAA.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I mean, you're tooled up to make Mustangs.
We're tooled up to make Mustangs.
Yeah.
So definitely, at some point, I'm sure a discussion will be had. But certainly at the moment, we don't have a deal with them. So it'll be something that needs to be secured within the next 12 months. Righto, question for AVL from Robert Hallen. Let's address the elephant in the room. Is GM done with supercars?
Yeah, we don't know. And I don't know that GM knows. We kind of covered it off before. I really hope not.
Yeah.
Like I say, I think there will be a GM product in supercars. It's just whether there's any active engagement at all from
kind of whether
from the actual manufacturer or not. But
whether they're paying the bill or not.
Yeah,
basically.
correct. So don't know is the answer. Jacob Boots asks you, Will, do the Indigenous liveries provide a level of complication to get right or as close as possible to the actual livery on the car? Are they more complicated than any other livery?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes and no. They're just a complicated livery. So whether it's, the SpongeBob car has some complicated bits on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes Penrite cars kind of have some challenges to them. But definitely the Indigenous cars kind of as a whole.
Yeah, you end up with a full field of
complicated liveries for one meeting instead of, maybe 3 or 4 from a season point of view. They're the kind of liveries that definitely if we don't get the files from a team, we're not even going to start thinking about it.
Trying to do it from photos and
is
that sort of stuff
impossible. Whereas, like, for instance, Macca's Pizza Hut livery.
You could start on that today.
We could start on that today and the factory could have it tonight kind of thing because there's just nothing that complicated about it. But, certainly like those shell cars from last year that we have just announced, we're not doing them from scratch.
Yeah.
But they're also, they're complicated for the guys to put on the cars in the first place.
Yep.
Yes. So if they have a shunt or something, then they're going to be slightly different between a Friday car to a Saturday car to a Sunday car anyway.
Yeah.
So it's all about the interpretation at some point. So yeah. They're reasonably difficult.
Yeah.
All right. Question for AVL from Scooter Evans. Is AVL's hair real? Surely it's a wig.
It's real hair. What a bizarre question.
No, it's all real.
What a bizarre question. It is.
I've never seen him without it.
It would. I did shave it once. It was before the 2022 season. I shaved it.
What on earth you did that for?
Don't know.
Just felt like
it's a fair bit of work. It certainly lightened my morning routine a little bit, but I usually just chuck a hat on. To be honest. No, it's very real. It's not it's not going anywhere.
Quite attached.
Yep. Question for Will from Damien Farkas. With the new DJR livery on the Mustangs, which looks fantastic thanks to the Authentics tee. This wasn't from Damien Farkas. This was from T. Groves of Perth, Western Australia, I think. Is there any chance of some older DJR models in the works?
That's a very broad question. There are a lot of DJR models. We've got through most of them. We've certainly got through the last shell livery era. Because everyone kind of forgets all those other liveries from like 16 and 15 and 16. They were basically that same livery. It's just the colours changed.
Yeah.
Like the WM Waste car and all of those, they were the same base livery. It was just the colours all changed of the spots. Yeah. And then we kept that until last year. Yeah. So yeah, they've all been done. So if you're meaning older in terms of, old Sierras and ELs and EFs and nothing really in the works just yet, but definitely something that we'll come to in the future.
Well, I think that will just about do us for our first role models of 2025. Will, is there anything else in the Authentics world that you'd like to tell us about?
Probably only that we've got our third set or third auction. This time is a set of auction items.
Yep.
So since you've been away, because really we haven't discussed this on a role models because it's all happened since the last time you were here. But we've started auctioning off a few of our sort of pre-production samples that we've got laying around in the building that kind of take up space and sort of things that aren't normally available to the public in any way.
Yep.
And so we got rid of a pre-production sample of the wildcard from DJR a couple of years ago from Kai and Simona's car. Larson had signed one of the plain body sprint cars for us. So we auctioned that one off last month. And this month we've got some DJR cars that just happen to be the first samples that we ever received as authentic.
Right.
So when we first started the business, sort of we had DJR pretty much locked as our first team. And then subsequently got Erebus, and then they won Bathurst, and it all went all topsy-turvy on us. But the first samples that we actually received wasn't a first shot or anything like that. It was actually the four Falcons that we've got up for auction at the moment. So it's a
piece of authentic history,
literally a piece of our history that we're auctioning off. So it's the two shell cars from the 2016 Bathurst 1000. And the two DJR cars, which one was the WM Waste and one was the Sharp car from the Sydney 500 that year as well. So we had all four arrive at the same time. I think we released all four at the same time, kind of 6 or so months after I got the samples. So they're up for auction. So you can go to our website, click on the current auctions tab, and place a bid. And hopefully, in a week or so, you might be a winner.
I'll probably start auctioning all the models I've stolen out of
Don't
the workshop
start.
when you aren't looking
Don't
at some
start.
point. But I won't advertise that on here.
Oh, I was going to say, are you going to auction them through our website too?
More of a dark web operation. I think
Yeah,
that'll
no
be going
doubt.
on there. So
No doubt.
anyway, that is definitely enough nonsense for our first episode. We'll be
We've got
back.
a race meeting coming up.
Yes, we will. I guess we'll do something probably after that because that's coming up
Yes.
reasonably soon. So
Yes.
we will be back at some point after Sydney Motorsport Park, where we're going to see some supercars racing.
It'll be
cool.
good.
Yep.
Feels like forever ago that
It
we
does.
were last at a racetrack.
It definitely does. So the first year of finals, and yeah, it's exciting.
There's a bit going on.
Yeah.
Bit to talk about after Sydney.
All right, well, we'll catch up then.
Thanks, guys.